يعني الحقيقه القاعه وعدد الشباب اللي موجود في القاعه يخليني اميل ان انا اقول كلمه حماسيه، وانا هحاول ان انا eقول بقدر الامكان كلمه قصيره جدا عشان اقدر استمع لاكبر عدد من الاسئله واجاوب عليها.
Actually, yeah, you're being here in this room, and especially there is a lot of young people here, the student, and I would really like to talk from the heart toward you, and I'm going to talk shortly, and then I'm going to listen to your question. It's better. It's more better for him to listen to your question than to talk to give a speech.
نمرة واحد، درس الشعوب العربية، ثورة الشعوب العربية، الدرس الأولاني.
What you all of you watch and we witnessed in our region, in our region, from revolution in Egypt, and then in Tunisia, and then in Egypt, and then and now in Libya, and then in Syria, and in Yemen, and we hope it will be tomorrow in Saudi and Gulf countries. It only indicates that freedom, seeking for freedom, it doesn't need a specific nationality.
وده اللي بيخلينا نشوف الموقف الخاطئ اللي خدته كل الحكومات الأوروبية والحكومة الأمريكية من الشعوب العربية، كلهم تعاملوا مع
Actually, what the previous policies of Europe and America just shows that that the people in the Middle East, they will not change. They are satisfied with dictatorship, and there is no way for change. But what had happened, it really forces them to acknowledge that those people need a big apologize from their side.
أنا كنت أتمنى إن يكون عندي وقت طويل عشان أحكي لكم صور كتيرة من صور الثورة.
And actually, I would like to talk a lot and in more details about what had happened in Tahrir Square in Egypt, but what really I want to say that this revolution in Egypt, which is started with the uprising of young people, just indicate that this revolution it will have a great future.
تحديدا يوم
I want to say just, I want to tell you about a scene that I really witnessed in front of my eyes in the 3rd of February when I was standing in Tahrir Square, and there were a young man who had been shot with a bullet in his neck. And while I saw this scene, so that I have a courage, and I really got arrested and I faced many hard situations, but when I saw this scene, I get backward. But while the young people around me saw this, they go farther towards the source of the sniper.
عشان كده احنا مدينين بنجاح ثورتنا لكل.
Actually, I want to say that we all pay tribute to those people who died for the sake of the freedom and of the sake of the revolution. And I want you, please, to give a big tribute for those people who died for the
النقابات في مصر.
Actually, the situation about trade unions in Egypt it was much difficult and hard because the official federation was dominated by the government since its establishment in 1957, and since our establishment, the Center for Trade Union and Worker Services, in 1990, and during these 20 years we were advocating worker rights, defending the two basic rights of worker, the right to strike and the right to form independent union. And actually, me and my colleagues in the Center for Trade Union and Worker Services, we faced repression from the authorities, the Egyptian authorities, for supporting workers and calling for independent trade union movement. We had been arrested and our offices had been shut down for being coordinating for the strikes that emerged in Egypt since 2006.
الآن وأنا واقف قدامكم ببص لكل التاريخ.
And now after all of this 20 years and while I'm standing in front of you, I recall all these long years, and I think that it really deserves that all this that we had suffered through this ordeal, and that me and my colleagues, we were patient and we try to be courage and we hold firmly on our principle. It's really deserved for the one of us to hold firmly on his principles for the sake of justice and freedom.
في 30 يناير يعني بعد بدء الثورة ب5 أيام.
Actually on the 30 of January, when the representative of already existing independent trade union went together with other representatives from other industrial cities, and they started to build and to call for building for the independent federation. We were in a place close to Tahrir Square, and we moved and announced this in a statement in Tahrir Square. We didn't know what it will be. The result comes out. The result come out from this statement, and now we don't know if what it could be happened if we didn't succeed in the revolution.
ولكن الثورة كانت أول خطوة إحنا مصممين عليها إن العمال المصريين يخشوا الثورة كطبقة ومستخدمين سلاحهم.
And actually, since we start to announce about the establishment of the independent federation, we start to call on workers to go and to involve more in the revolution, but not individually, but as a working class, which it could really give economic weight for the revolution. And actually, this call had been responded by them in the 9th and 10th of February, and there were almost like 600,000 workers on strike, and that day I said in the on the television that now the worker pushed the train of the revolution to reach the final station.
احنا في مصر على مستوى النقابات المستقلة بنقول إن وقت النقابات المستقلة قد حان.
And actually, after the revolution, it was a high time for independent trade union to start to be formed in every sector. This is why we toured all the industrial cities in order to talk with workers to be organized as independent unions.
التحدي الكبير اللي بيواجهه الشعب المصري إن الثورة تنجح في إن هي تحقق مهامها. الشعب المصري خرج ضد الفقر والاستبداد وكان بينادي بالحرية والعدالة، ونحن التحدي اللي أمامنا الآن إن إحنا نبني مجتمع الحرية والعدالة.
The biggest challenge after the revolution succeed is to be able as we emerged in order to when we emerged in the street in Tahrir Square against poverty and dictatorship, we now seeking to build the society of social justice.
شكرا.
Thank you.
I think the truth of this is, I mean, we're living in a tough time in Britain with the cuts we're facing, but this is a good news story. This is such a good news story. I mean, Kamal is, as you'll have learned already, exceptionally modest about his achievements. This is a man who spent 35 years building a workers' movement from scratch. And one of the reasons that Kamal and Tamir are so tired is that I kept them up as late as I possibly could. Even Sasha went to bed before me, and I'm, you know, twice his age. But just to listen to the story, the fact that, you know, Kamal went into this steel plant in Helwan, 20,000 workers, a steel plant in the grip of not only of the state but of the state-run unions, and when he tried to organise in there and was pushed back, organised his own newspaper, got cells organised across the factory that eventually led to a huge steel strike in 1989. And when that steel strike was repressed, you know, for many people that would have been enough. But no, Kamal's then spent the next 20 years assisting workers in all kinds of industries, you know, meeting them in the middle of the night after a 2 o'clock phone call to advise them about how they can fight. Now, that pressure by the workers' movement, you know, there's been whole strike waves throughout the last 20 years of Egyptian history, and it's that pressure that has bent and crushed and weakened the regime that's then led to the events this year, where you can have this democratic revolution, you can have the people coming onto the streets, because a lot of the basis of the regime has been broken by that workers' movement. And let's not forget that at that crucial time, when the army was wavering about which way to go, it was 60,000 workers that came out, and it was that 60,000 workers coming out that really just broke the back of the Mubarak regime. And I think it's that story of what workers can do and what worker leaders can do from nothing. You know, that's an inspiring story. That's a story that you can get in your heart, and you can go out of here tonight and take that with you and think about, you know, understand the struggle that Kamal and others have taken part in Egypt, and make that your mission, because it's possible, it's doable. And that kind of good news, we do need to spread that in the British Labour movement. You know, it's easy to be beaten down by the situation in this country, both with the cuts and the history we've been through. But this is a fantastic story, an inspiring story. And, you know, I think if you can't get excited about this, then I think probably you are politically dead. But you're not politically dead. You've come here because you want to make solidarity. You understand the role that solidarity can play. You are internationalists. But you need to understand something else, and I'll finish on this. This good news story won't be a good news story if you just go away, you know, full of the joy of tonight's meeting, because there are threats. The state, the army in Egypt, you have you know, the existing political parties, you have the old state Labour Front that still has its premises, that still has influence with the Labour Ministry, and you have, as has been pointed out already, groups like the Muslim Brothers, you know, who are a threat to that workers' movement. Now, you know, you've got a choice tonight. You will be inspired when you leave, and you know, I hope you stay up all night talking about it. But you can't just leave it at that. You've got to take that message and go away into your workplace, into your college, into your community, and do something about it. Because we have a pivotal moment now. We can either help Kamal and the centre develop what is now about a 1 million strong workers movement, and maybe by the end of the year a 3 million strong workers movement, or you'll see it smashed. I mean, we've got our Iraqi comrades here. We know that the situation in Iraq, where again there's been some good examples of solidarity, including by the Fire Brigade Union with workers there, you know, they are threatened now with their very existence. And we need to do something now about that solidarity. So that's what Egypt Workers' Solidarity is about. You know, you can get speakers, you can get literature, you can go out there and do something wherever you are to help this movement. And I hope if you take nothing else away apart from the inspiration, you will go away tonight and do something practical tomorrow.